very rarely isn't there like a nod to something that I've liked as a child or as a teenager or as a young adult, in my work. The accumulation of references since I was a child is very important, because everything I do is fed by that multitude of references that I've stored in my brain and in my soul. When you look at the pictures, you'll see a lot of micro elements from all of that, But I think this is what makes the work really personal. And whilst I'm not an innovator, I definitely have, I think, a signature look, I think from day one, I was really immersed in imagery. My parents had a lot of art books. They watched a lot of films, and I was bathed in that. The very first proper movies that I watched, which to this day is amongst my favorites, is To Catch a Thief. The amazing feeling I got from watching that film, I just wanted to repeat that experience forever and ever and ever, So anything which contained really sophisticated glamour or really sophisticated manufactured reality, refinement, elegance, beauty with a big B. It was like a magnet. I was attracted to it. And then that can lead on to something else again. I mean, Hitchcock is what led to Marlene Dietrich. That's influenced my work a lot. I mean, the sort of like the shadows, the fact that if you look at it, it's very clever because there is practically no information in the darks, but that's what makes the image. It's the fact that luminous, goddess-like face emerges from the dark. That was really the starting point for my love for what the light can do to a face or to an object, or or the atmosphere it can conjure up, even in everyday life, like the way you're going to place a candle in a room in a certain area because it's going to create shadows on a certain object, and then just suddenly you find yourself in another dimension. I really started doing photography when I was 14, and I think I was quite good at it, but more from a purely aesthetic point of view. I mean, what I cared about was the image. What I cared about was the framing of the image. What I cared about was the composition of the image, the colors I used in the image. But I was always a bit like, all that technical stuff, it's annoying me. And I do find it quite difficult to wrap my head around. And so I thought, okay, painting or illustration or drawing might be the answer, because then I'll be completely in control of what I'm doing, and I won't need to sort of like worry about the sort of like the distance, and I can just dive into it. And so I got my baccalaureate, very good grades in art, But when it came to going to university, I just thought, if I carry on doing art at university, it's going to finish me off. I mean, by the end of the degree, I probably won't want to pick up a brush. I just sensed it, you know. And I just thought, I don't want to kill that off. I don't want to kill the passion. So I ended up doing English at university and then moved to the UK. But then carried on drawing, painting, doing illustration. I had visions of scenes, I had visions of characters. And I just thought, well, maybe I can translate those visions onto a canvas, you know. I mean, it was it was rewarding. I mean, when I started working for the publishing house Taschen, one of the editors asked to see my work, and he was impressed with it, and he said, "Well, I would like you to be part of our next release." So I ended up featured in Illustration Now, Volume 4. As part of like 150 illustrators. So that was very exciting. But nonetheless, I was getting tired of painting. If you fast forward a few more years, I ended up working on a project with a friend of mine who is a very, very good photographer. When the time came to sort of like have the exhibition of the work, I was really inspired to pick up a camera again. I mean, obviously, when I was a teenager, it was a film camera, and at that point, you know, I was picking up a digital camera, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I love the flexibility of it. I mean, I still do a bit of film photography, but I really do love the flexibility and the magic of digital photography, especially because what I love the most about it is the post-editing process, because I apply the sort of like the painting skills to the Photoshop work, you know. Colors and textures are very, very important for me. And I do have a palette. I mean, if you look at my work, there is a palette. Green and red, that's something that comes back often. Certain shades of blue that come back quite often. And also a sort of like a theatricality, but not a garish theatricality. But I think no element is more important than the other. It's the combination, the sum of all those elements that really make it work. Even you know, when you direct your model, or when you guide your model, what you say to the model, that's important, I think. Because everybody's different, and you have to sort of like tap into, in order to get what you want, you have to tap into what's going to work for them, to translate what you imagine for them. And because I like that nostalgic look as an image, but also as an expression. But of course, that can quite easily fall into, oh, that looks sad. But you don't want that. You want nostalgia, but hope. Don't smile, but think of something that makes you smile inside, but you don't necessarily want to share it with other people, because it's so precious, it's so special, you're protective of it. The thing is, if the process becomes too complicated and too much of an endeavor, not only does it kill it for me, but it also kills it for the model. If you end up waiting so long for everything to be set up, it gets frustrating. I want to keep it fluid, and I really want to focus on the process, the framing of the image, the styling of the image, because that takes time too. But I don't want that time to be infringed upon by the rest. And the energy with the model or the sitter has to remain high and excited, inspired, nurturing, and sparkling. It has to sparkle. Over time, I've really discovered what I did not want to do. And what's left is what I really want to do. And I want to push that further. I want to do more of that. And I want to have the opportunity to work and photograph as many interesting people as possible. Ultimately, I think in all of my portraiture work, I think everybody ends up a little bit looking like a movie star, or like somebody who's been portrayed by a classical painter. I want to give everybody that rarefied dignity to create an image of sublime beauty. That's the goal.